Hello, everyone. My name is Samuel Teyssier. I'm the head of organizational outreach for KSUIF at Kent State University in Ohio. I'm joined by today by a longtime script supervisor on numerous television shows, including The Walking Dead. She's had a long career and she's starting a new journey recently, and she released a short film that we'll be talking about as well. So, thank you very much for coming on, Mrs. Lacy. I'm so glad to have you.
Hi, thanks for
It's been a
having
long
me.
time coming. But yeah, thank you so much for accepting the offer, and I'm so excited to talk to you about all you've done in the past 30, it's 30 years about, right? Wow. My first question I have for you today is a softball, but what was the last film you've seen, Mrs. Lacy?
Oh, wow. Okay, I can't pronounce it right. Please help me. Was that for an Oscar? Stephen Young was in it?
Yeah, Minari. That's what I call
Minari.
it.
Minari. I just watched Minari. And before that, I watched The Fifth Element again. I'm watching a lot of films lately because I'm getting my master's, and so I'm in screenwriting, and so I wish I'd done that before I shot my short.
Are you reading a lot of scripts as well, I assume?
Yeah.
What was one that you read lately, a script that you
can read? Well, lately we've been going back in time, and one was called The Masters. Another one was When Harry Met Sally. We're doing a whole bunch of, everything from the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s on. So it's all like silent films we've even been studying. So
awesome. Yeah, Minari was a really special one with, Steven as well. I didn't even think about the connection there, but was it kind of weird to see him do, like, I don't know. I've never seen him speak Korean, but it's just so weird to see him outside of the show.
It was wonderful. I think he was so authentic. I mean, that's the word right now, right? But he was really authentic. And I loved his character. I thought it was a beautiful film. I felt like he did an amazing job. Yeah, I love seeing him in a different role like that.
Yeah.
It was really good.
I'm pretty sure his brother-in-law directed it, if I'm correct. Yeah, and I think there's some connection there, but yeah. It was a really just small. It seemed like a small film, and it really had the relationships were really shown throughout, and it was special. But and talking about small towns, it's extremely small. I forget where they were, Oklahoma, or like some very small town in some South state. So that was a really great film as well. And my next question is there one filmmaker to you that you look up to the most, and which one of their films was like the first one to like hook you and like speak to you in a way?
I love David Lynch.
Okay.
Yeah, I think David Lynch is one of my favorite storyteller, directors. He just, I don't know, he's in a different realm, I feel like,
Oh, yeah, there's nothing like him.
Blue Velvet was one of my favorite films. But I also love The Jungle Book, and again, The Fifth Element, and with Nell and I, Harold and Maude. I mean, there's, a big wide, it's not just one type of film. But David Lynch, there's like something you don't expect, and I really enjoy that. I like being thrown off a little bit.
Yeah, it's just so much like symbolism to him, like, and you have to kind of see it through his eyes in a way, because there's so much how he edits his work together. Just it's so different from anything else I think any director has done. But since going back to kind of film school, has there been anyone's work that you've kind of found a new appreciation for?
Oh yeah, a lot. I mean, I didn't even watch like older films before. So I'm getting a real appreciation for, the black and white films. I can't really say exactly right now who specifically sticks out. It's just, well, I mean, how Alfred Hitchcock, we've been watching a lot of his work. But there are a lot of writers that are like, wow, they're just so talented and so creative. I'm really enjoying sharing that with my family, to be honest with you, just watching those older movies. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. And yeah, before we dive into anything more, can you kind of explain why you're kind of re-entering like your education, why you're like going back to school in a way after being like working for so many years, like
right, like at age 58. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you never, you got to keep learning, right? And there's aspects of the industry that I don't really know yet. Like, but I really want to teach. And I want to get my MFA so I can teach. And I've had so much, like I find that so many people that do teach haven't had that much experience on the set. And so what I would like to do is share what I've learned from being on the set to help other people. So, when you go to film school, sometimes you don't really get the opportunity to be on set. And then you go and you're like, wow, this is like nothing I ever expected. So I would like to give them a realistic point of view of what it's like. I would also like to help make a change for your generation so that all people have a chance, so that all departments can have a chance. Sometimes people get stuck, say in the prop department, but they're actually an amazing director and they haven't had a chance. I don't think you specifically have to come from assistant directing to be able to shoot second unit. I think that different roles, you get stuck. And so I hope that I can help in that by teaching a younger generation so that their mind is more open to make a change. But I do feel like, I have 3 kids that are, as I told you, almost 20, 21, and 25, and they are teaching me so much. I'm wondering really if I'll make that much of a difference, because you guys, you guys really speak your truth. And I think that's wonderful. It's shocking sometimes to spend that long in school and then go on set and realize, oh, I'm working like 12 or 15 hours a day without lunch, things like that. So I just want to open people's minds and know how to flow within the workspace.
Yeah. So just a more real perspective from someone who's been on it for 30 years. So you can give people that perspective. That would be awesome. Yeah.
But also, there is no limit. Like, I think a lot of us are scared. It's a big, it's a lot of money and it's a big show but the way you help other people is being who you really are and being honest and truthful. And I think that's what we need a lot more of. So.
Yeah. In my eyes, I think that can only help, but hopefully that's right. And
yeah, hopefully.
Hopefully. So this is your second go around at like post-secondary college, but your first time when you're a few years younger, what was your major, Mrs. Lacy? And like, is that how you found like more of your passion for film? Is it from college?
No, not at all. No, I didn't study film. I have a BA in business. I went to Maryville College in Tennessee, and I never dreamt I could be in the film industry. It was the furthest thing from my imagination. But I worked in advertising, and I transferred out to Los Angeles, and everybody I met was in the film business, and they were traveling like, oh, we're going to Paris for a month, or, Italy or wherever. And so I was like, well, I have 1 week a year and I want that lifestyle. I don't want to be stuck in an office from 9 to 5 the rest of my life. And so I quit my job and I went on an interview for this thing called craft service. And I interviewed and they gave me the job and I said, what is it? Like I had no idea what I was going to do. And they said, it's the snacks and the food for the crew. And I was vegan and, and I didn't cook. So I was really bad at that job. But what was great about that job is, I got to watch the set and I got to see the one at that time in the 80s, the one woman on the set was the script supervisor. We had hair, makeup, might have had one woman too, but I can't do hair and I can't do makeup. And so I watched her and that's when I decided, well, maybe that's what I should do. And then, so I worked as craft service for a little bit until I got comfortable enough to call the, I think it was 871 is the Los Angeles Script Supervisors Union. And I called them. And at the time I just said, who are your top 10 script supervisors? And do you know, they gave me their phone numbers and names.
That would never happen today.
They would never do that today. And so I called them all and invited them to lunch. And of the 10, 7 went. And of the 7, 5 were trained by the same man. So I hired him to train me. And that's how I started. And that's another thing, going back to the teaching, I want to help people learn how to get work because a lot of people don't know how to find work.
Yeah. And a word that's used a lot today is networking. So that's probably something that you're talking about here. So
yeah.
And before I went to college, I never heard that word used in that context, but you hear that many times a day when you enter college nowadays. Networking, like try to make connections so you have those opportunities after college.
And it's really interesting the places you'll find work. Like I'm a script supervisor, but I know a lot of PAs. And I know like the head PA on The Walking Dead or the head PA on The First Lady, or, I'm about to do another feature. It's like, I know props assistants, I know camera people, and we're always asking each other, who would you recommend? Do you know anybody? Because Atlanta is super busy, but you don't have to just network with your department. And because there's only one of me, sometimes 2 for second unit, but it's not just set on just your department that you can get work from,
Yeah. And so you worked with this man, and like, how long did it take for you to like kind of, you said you paid him to like kind of teach you the skills that you need. No, that's really interesting to me, like how that relationship went. Like how long did that take for him to for you to pass his course in a way?
So he's passed away now, but he did there's someone, I know other people who do teach script supervising that are really good, but he did a 6-month course every weekend, 6 hours a day on Saturday and Sunday. And I just asked him if I could hire him for a month and just do it all at once. And so he said yes. And so I did it in a month, but it was very natural to me. And it was funny because as soon as we ended the course, I went to this Hollywood party because I was living in the Hollywood Hills, and I met a producer who gave me his card and said, "Oh, I'm doing this, Harlem Globetrotter video, with Lou Gossett Jr." And so I was like, "Well, I'm a script supervisor. I'll do the, And he was like, "Great, you're hired." And he gave me his card, and I was like, "Wow, I just finished my class and I had my first job the first night, And then, of course, I called Monday and he didn't answer, and I called Tuesday and he didn't answer. So being from a small town, Wednesday, I went to his office and I had his business card, and I just said, you gave me your word, and so I want to claim this job. This is my job, and I want to make sure you keep your word. And so I think just because I went there and demanded it, he gave it back to me. So I had my first job, because it's really hard to get your first job in any department.
Yeah, that's something else I wanted to ask, but that's awesome that you just let us know, because going from, like you said before, you're in craft services and script supervising, it's a huge jump. Yeah, huge jump, but that's awesome that you got it.
And you just have to get one job. Exactly. And then you can start networking, and hopefully you do a great job. And from that job, by the way, I started working as an apprentice editor on a couple of movies so that I could understand my role better. And I took a course at UCLA for editing so that I could understand editing. And because a lot of my job is about editing and shots and helping the director. So, you know, I feel like once you get that first break, you have to network. You have to hit the pavement really hard. And it was easier back then because it was, you know, there weren't computers, or there were, but not like now. So I would take my resume into offices, you know, it was just instead of emailing. So in person, when people meet you, it's so different than just sending an email.
Yeah, much more personal. And I think if someone came to me in person rather than just paper, I get to know them, and maybe that might break the tie in a way.
Yeah.
But yeah. So when you did become a script supervisor, like, and you got in the rhythm of doing the job, and I'm sure you kind of, like, you get in the rhythm, you get in habits of stuff. So as a script supervisor, as soon as you kind of get on set, what in the morning, like, what is the first thing you usually do? Do you have like some type of ritual that you do in the morning?
Yeah, like I hug everybody. No, I mean, pre-COVID. No, I do have a schedule. Like for my own personal self, I'll take the call sheet and I'll go over what we're shooting for the day. And I write on the call sheet all the continuity information that I need, so that by the time I get to set, before I get to set, I already know what's going on. So if someone asks me a question, I can support them like right then. But honestly, I do hug everybody when it's not COVID. And I do like want to bring like calm with me, you know, happiness and calmness, and be very structured and set for the day before I even show up. And then when I get on set, I'll walk around and I'll make sure, you know, the set looks right. Like the things that are supposed to be there are supposed to be there. And I'll I usually have a powwow with props and wardrobe, and I'll check in with hair and makeup if there are certain things we need to have, or, you know, and like give them my continuity information for the day so that we're all like aligned on the same thing. On The Walking Dead, we had to have powwows because there were like 18 characters in a scene. I mean, it was just insane. So we'd have to talk about things. And we didn't have playback.
Oh, wow. And why is that? You know?
Budget, maybe.
Oh, okay. Just the time, maybe.
Wow. They honestly, I think it really wasn't the budget. I think they really didn't want actors to stop and watch themselves and see replays. They just wanted to shoot. And Andrew Lincoln would never watch himself anyway, so it wouldn't have been him. But he doesn't watch himself.
I think even after, like, even the final episode, yeah.
Yeah.
But
oh my gosh, I have the most amazing. I wish I thought to pull him up. Oh, he'd probably kill me if I showed them though. He's really kind and really funny, and I have some amazing videos of him on set because you know, that the last episode he did, he had to wear like a bloody sponge under his shirt.
Yeah.
He named it Sebastian. And he would talk to it, and he'd pull it out of his shirt and then talk to the Sebastian. And it was really silly, but yeah, it was fun.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And like all the videos I've seen, because I've seen videos of you like interacting with actors. It just seems like a very fun experience. And like you try to lighten the mood whenever you can. And because Georgia, I've never been, but it seems like it can get very hot and humid, and I like just keeping that up. Like,
it's really hot. I really love what I do. And I feel like, you know, people so actors are totally exposing themselves. They're totally exposing who they are. I mean, not who they are, but their character is, right? And so that's very vulnerable. And I want them to feel comfortable and safe and like really nurtured, you know. I want them to feel like we're there to support them. And so I guess I try not to show my stress if I have it. If I don't remember something, I try not to like freak out. I just, talk to myself and send a text to someone or try to fix it without them knowing. And part of our job is, to make sure they say the dialogue word for word. It depends on the film. It depends on the show, but in general, it should be word for word, and so when I'm the person, aside from the director or the DP who has to go up to the actor, I want it to be as less intrusive as possible. And I don't want to affect anything they're doing because that's between them and the director. So yeah, I just try to kindly help them feel support.
Yeah. And I realize this question is probably wrong, but correct me. As a script supervisor, do you receive the scripts the same time as actors?
I don't know. That's an interesting question. I think sometimes I get them before and sometimes I get them way after.
Okay.
It just depends. So like in my prep, by the time I'm starting, they've already hired most of the actors. And when they have revisions, they're supposed to send me my revision as soon as they write it so that I can look it over and make sure everything's accurate chronologically. And I mean, like the last show I did on The First Lady, the script coordinator would privately have me proofread it to make sure everything lined up. And like, I would tell him the day it was in the script so he could put that in the script. And it was really nice because we coordinated together.
What do you mean by that? Like,
so like, part of my job is to break down the day night. So say you have a script that's, 100 pages, that it takes place over 4 months.
Yeah. Then
I would put like, this is day one. I would do the time of day, say it's 11 a.m. It's March 1980. And so the DP would say to me, what month is this? And I might go up to the DP and say, this is supposed to be summer and there are no leaves on the trees, So we put a V on it for visual effects for them to add the leaves. But going back to the question, I do all the day-night breakdowns so that we know like all the scenes we're shooting, we shoot out of order. And so scene 20 might be day 15 and scene 38 might be night 42. So, so you're shooting it out of order. And I create all that, make sure the writer and director are okay with my day-night breakdown and give it to the first AD. But so that when he creates the call sheet, it has all the day nights for all the departments. It also helps wardrobe, how many costume changes they have and all that. But with the script coordinator, when he's doing all the revisions, sometimes they like to put the day night in the script.
Yeah, that's what, like as a writer, I write a lot as well. And I would always assume that the writer would be doing that job, but that's awesome that, okay. Thank you.
But it's nice to check with the writer and the director and make sure, before you distribute it, you make sure it's accurate and what they want. Because who knows, maybe it should be 2 days and not put 6 in there, so it just depends. Sometimes the dialogue guides you and lets you know. But I work really closely with the DP because he's lighting the scene, and he's like, if we're on stage and we have a window, he wants to know what time of day is it to know how bright the light should be.
Yeah. I never thought of that. That's awesome. And another thing that I was wondering, like what you prefer in a way is, where do you prefer to sit on set?
Because, I mean, if I could have my druthers, I'd be right by camera.
Okay.
Yeah. But awesome. A lot of times I don't sit, I stand.
Okay.
I stand all day and type. I would like to be on camera. I'd like to be on set. 85% of the time I have to be in Video Village because the director wants me right by their side. But if they don't mind, I'll go as close as I can to set. I can feel the energy of the scene better there. Not that that's anything to do with my job. I just feel like it helps me funnel information better, you know. But I have to be able to throw dialogue, and I don't want to be, you know, 40 yards away when they're like need a word. But I also need to be able to hear what the director likes, and so.
And when you said type, are you writing or typing?
Oh, typing on my computer.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I started, it was pen and paper, and I quite frankly prefer pen and paper. And I wish that no one used a computer as script supervisors, because I really feel like it has nothing to do with our job at all. If we just did pen and paper, we could do our job fine. What's wonderful about using a computer is that you can just send your notes off at night, and it's cleaner. It's not as messy and stuff. But I really miss, because it was like my journal. It was like a 9-year-old journal, you know, because you put like puffy clouds or a flower around something that the director loved, or, you know, you could do all these stupid. It was just easy. All the editors always used to say, "We love your notes," because we don't have to read everything. We can find exactly what the good and the bad are of the scene.
Yeah, that's
so
awesome.
I miss that.
I always assumed that was writing, but I guess I'm too old-fashioned as well. Because like on student projects that I've worked on, it's usually just writing on the script and along those lines.
Well, I do use a clipboard, and then I use my sides, my scenes for the day, and that's where I do continuity, all my continuity notes. So I still do that on paper and pen, but my like line script, my description page, my production report, all that is on the computer. But a lot of script supervisors can use their computer. I don't know how they do it, but they can use it to do continuity notes. I just still have to, it's like a piece of art. I just have to draw. Well, maybe not art, some squibbles.
Yeah, art's subjective. And like when you did work on The Walking Dead, that's one of the most like extra like friendly jobs, I would say, because some extra, like there's some extras that have been on the show for, it seems like to me, years. But they never say a line. But you always see the same face in the background. So, is that more tricky for you as a script supervisor to have these very, very small roles that are reoccurring instead of just hiring new extras like every few episodes?
No. I wish they'd give him lines. Give him all lines.
Why is that? Like, because to me, from an outsider's perspective who doesn't know much about script supervising, I would assume that, like, I don't know, like, if you have the same people, you might have to have them, like, look kind of the same, have some, I guess they're very minimal in how they're dressed, and they could be kind of, like, they could kind of blend in very much, but so you prefer to like have those same extras though. That's interesting.
Yeah, I think it's because they know the show and they know how it works. They know how it moves. They know, they're on time. They're committed. Like at Hilltop, we had a lot of the same people, and they just had their business that they did, and they all wear the same clothes because no one had new clothes. And so if they weren't there, maybe they died. You wonder what their backstory is. I loved all the extras. They were on that show in particular, everybody, it was love. It was like everybody was just there because they loved it and they wanted to do a good job. No one was complaining. They weren't angry. They gave it 150%. And I really did feel like there were some extras that were like, they were in every scene, like the Saviors, Jimmy. I actually put him in my movie.
I know, yeah.
Did
I was going to ask you about him later, yeah.
Because I think he's an amazing actor, and he never got a line. And I was like, he's on the show like 9 years.
He never got a line.
Never got a line.
From someone who watched the show, I thought he definitely did. Because, like, he has that presence. But.
He did, and I think they cut it out. They did give him a scene, but I think they cut it. I'm 99% sure they cut it out but it wasn't because of his acting. It was because the film was running too long and that scene wasn't that important. So he did get a chance to say something.
Wow.
But I wanted him to be I actually wanted him to be a character. But there were a few people that we didn't know were going to be main leads that started out like background, and then they moved them into a character. And then I don't know. I think all the background, when you have a show and you can use the same background and continuity wise, it won't matter, you know, because they all have on the same clothes. They're committed. It's good to use them. In Woodbury, a lot of us had our kids as the background. And when the governor was giving his speech, I had my au pair and my 3 kids and their best friends. One of the little boys, Sammy, one of my youngest, Oliver, his best friend, had flown in from California, and my daughter's friend had flown in from California. So they were also in the background, which is really funny. It's like having home movies.
Yeah, that's funny.
But I think in our industry, we pretty much don't, you know, a lot of us that are on the crew, we won't have our family as extras. But what was nice about The Walking Dead is that they did let our family be extras. And so we could see our families every now and then. I mean, we were working like 16-hour days, you know, 5 days a week. And so and driving an hour one way just to go to work. So that was nice. That was nice.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm pretty sure a few of your kids made appearances in your short film as well. So,
yeah.
Like the family videos, like you said. And yeah, from someone who's done extra work on like Netflix shows, because they film around Pittsburgh, and that's where I am right now.
Well, cool.
Like, it's so weird to think that they would keep asking you back for multiple episodes. That's crazy for me to think, but there's something special about that show.
There is. There really is. And I think people wanted to consistently come back to play their character. And we would talk about backstories, you know, and they were involved in everything. I mean, they were there early and watched everything. And they really, I think the good thing about having the same extras is that you have the same energy, you know, on set.
Yeah.
And it shows on film.
Yeah. Like, even as like someone who's behind the scenes, to see like some directors that worked on The Walking Dead were on the show less than some of the extras. Like, that's insane to me.
Yes.
But,
yes, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, one of my other questions, I will move on, but I can't get over that. That's thinking about that. Have you ever had to, I'm sure you have you ever had to reshoot an entire scene due to a continuity issue? If so, like, is that an easy conversation with the director, and like, how do you have that conversation?
Ooh, I've heard of it.
Okay.
I don't think I've ever, I mean, it's not because I'm like so fantastic. I just don't think I've ever, I think we've had to, I think I might have, like in a doctor scene, left a glove off or something. I mean, I'm sure I have a ton of continuity errors, but I'm so sorry you stumped me, because I'm trying to think of a time. It could have been a glove situation, you know, where we had to go back and reshoot part of a scene because the doctor didn't have on their gloves. Do you know of something that
No.
I wonder.
I'm sure I've seen stuff, because
like, I see stuff all the time.
Especially on The Walking Dead, specifically. I'm sure I've seen stuff on that show, but I'm not a person that rewatches. That's just me. Like, I can't rewatch shows, but I'm sure, like, I can point stuff out and like see stuff if there is an issue. So yeah,
I think there have been times when we forgot weapons, and the director would say, "We're not going to go back and shoot that for the knife in the belt." Or there was a big scene in. There's this huge scene in, I don't remember what scene it was, but it was the beginning of a season opening, and Carl kicks in the door of this 2-story White House, and like 18 of them go in, and they find cat food, and they sit around in a circle on the floor, and they're eating this cat food. And I wasn't watching Andy, because he's methodic, like he's always on. Like, and I thought, well, if there's one person I don't need to watch, it's Andy. And then he said to me, Amy, did I use 2 fingers or 1? How did I eat the food? And I was like, I don't know.
And there's no playback, like you said, right? No playback.
No playback.
Yeah.
No playback. And I felt like I let him down. I felt so bad, but I was watching other people that didn't do as good of continuity as he did. So we didn't have to reshoot that, but I felt like it forced the cut. I felt like, and from then on, I thought I need to watch number 1 and number 2 and number 3 more than anybody else, because they're going to be on their close-up more than, number 28. So, yeah, I felt bad about that. But as far as reshooting a whole scene, I'm so sorry, I'm blanking on that. We blocked it, Yeah,
you're a great script supervisor. That's all I have to know.
I'm sure I blocked it. And I'm sure visual effects had to remove a lot of coffee cups from our set. So Game of Thrones, I felt so bad for that, because I'm sure we've had water bottles and all kinds of stuff on our set.
That fits in a bit more than Game of Thrones. So, like, since you were on the show for nearly 10 years, which when I talked to you over the phone the first time, that's insane to me. Like, you were on the show, I think, as long as Andy, like we said then. So yeah, that's still crazy to me. But it was the position of editor also as consistent, like, because that's important for you and whoever that editor is, because you could probably build like some sort of shorthand to make the process be more efficient, and like just so you guys can have a better relationship, take better notes for whoever that is.
Yeah, what's a good question. We had most of the same editors, and the assistant editors ended up moving into editing. Like Tiffany, she was an assistant, and now she's an editor. Dan Liu was an assistant, moved to editing, and now is directing.
Wow.
Yeah. So he's done really, really well. So yeah, we text each other all the time. My notes pretty much stayed the same. I'm pretty consistent in what my notes are, and they're I feel like it's a language that editors and script supervisors know, and so I don't veer from that. I don't really veer from that. I keep it pretty standard, but we do text a lot, and I'll say, hey, give them a heads up, like, or I'll put in the notes, the actor really liked this shot, this particular take. I'll give them special inside tips, or I'll text them and say, Norman's dog passed away today, and he's really not focused today. Something like that, inside stuff. Okay. That helps them when they cut. So, but I can't put it in my notes. I mean, I can, but I'd rather just text them and tell them. And that didn't happen, by the way. I just can't. That did not happen. So,
just some example.
Just an example. He did have crows at his window, but that was a really exciting, happy thing.
That was real emotional. The crows. Yeah, that's really awesome that you guys can kind of build that relationship, and that. But yeah, because I'm sure that helped the process as well.
Well, I try to, like with any show I do, I try to get their cell numbers and text and communicate that way. I'd rather text than email, just in case I don't have internet, and let them know what's, the inside of the day.
Yeah, definitely. That can only help, I'm sure. Yeah. And what, if you could give like an estimate, like on some of like the bigger scene, like not like an average scene in The Walking Dead, like what was the average amount of takes that you guys did? Because like you said, it was kind of fast. You guys tried to, like, there was no playback. So what was, like, how many takes did you guys do on like a scene?
Well, it depended on the director.
Yeah.
So,
like Greg Nicotero.
And it also depended on, I'm sorry?
Like Greg Nicotero, like he was someone who you had pretty often. He came back very often. So if you could, like, what do you think he did? If you could remember, I don't know.
Greg is amazing. Greg, it depends. Honestly, it's hard to say. We could do 3 takes and we could do 6. I don't think he did much more than 6. Okay.
There's no David Fincher doing 30 takes or.
Oh, no way, no. And the executive producers wouldn't let that happen.
Yeah. Because
we have too much to do in one day, so we had to move very fast. Yeah. So I would say 6 would be a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, it would be a lot.
Okay.
And you know, they always had their storyboards. They always had shot lists. They, you know, it was a very prepared day. The first ADs on that show, they're wonderful. Wow. And they part things out and they communicate well, and they have everything written down that we're going to do. So, because it has to be methodically planned and structured and shot that way. And if we go off by 5 minutes, we may not get a scene that day, and that's just that's not good. So yeah.
And just 16-hour days, like you said, you have to be on track.
But I don't know how they are now. I think because of COVID, most shows are trying to stay at 10 hours. We're doing French hours with no lunch.
Yeah.
So I think they're doing that too. But going back to your question about the number of takes, I think also the show's so physical that it's hard for people to do that many takes on a lot of the stuff. But I remember Elsie, who plays Maggie, she was eating a piece of pie. And so someone brought her a pie and she just like cuts into it and starts eating it. And so one take she ate like, you know, a tiny little bite. And the next take she ate like half the pie. And we did do like 7 takes of that one. And I mean, it was always different. It was never the same. And she was like, I'm not going to ever eat pie again.
Oh my gosh.
But, you know, things like that, it's hard because you know, they eat it in a different way and the pie's still sitting on the table and it's a different size when you cut away and go back. And there's just nothing you can do about that. I mean, it's just.
You have to have a lot of pies on set. That's what you have to do.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
That's what your craft service is, Mrs. Lacy. So you've worked with like a lot of directors, let alone on The Walking Dead, like on all your other shows, there's even more. But what, like, I'm sure you've had like some directors that you've worked with that you prefer over others, but what made them like great to work with, those certain directors that you prefer to work with? Like, what do you see in them that you kind of want to take into your directing work that you hope to do in the future?
Yeah, I think as far as directing goes, the ones who've done their homework and they know the actors, they know the characters, rather, not the actors, they know the characters, and they know the emotion they want to get out of the scene and what drives it. And then to spend time with the actors in their rehearsals and talk with them about what their character's doing instead of just setting the shot. I mean, you can set the shot, but really get into what drives that character in that moment. And some scenes don't need that. Some scenes you just set it up and you shoot it and it's fine. But I really enjoy directors who work with the actors and then who also involve the crew and are kind. I mean, the main thing is if the set is happy and everybody's respecting one another, you're going to get a lot of work done in one day. So I really like David Boyd. I will want to throw his name out there because he is the kindest, most generous director, and he applauds like everybody, and he just loves everybody. And people want to do work for him. They want to move that 5K. They want to work later to make sure he gets all the shots he needs, you know, and it changes what's on film. Yeah. So I think a director who's planned, and, you know, if the script is awful, you know, they don't complain. They don't say, you know, this is crap. They take it seriously and shoot it because that's what they've been given. And they can make it better. If a director can take a horrible line and help the actor make it look real or honest or true or good, you know, that's just, I love learning from that, you know. Yeah. I love watching directors change something that's just really bad on paper into something beautiful, you know?
Yeah. And if I was in your position, like, and you see the script before and you're like,
yeah,
how is this going to work? And I would be interested to see like what the director is going to try to do to make it work. So that's awesome that you've probably been in that situation many times. So
well, I have, and you know, it's interesting. I'm really fortunate because I get to point things out, you know, like, I can say this doesn't make sense. If you look at the whole storyline, they never would have, gone over here, whatever. So that I can at least tell in private the writer or the director and let them fix it or not. But that's our privilege, which is really, really wonderful, is to really get our teeth into the script and then help, if there are mistakes, to help it before we get on set.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Without overstepping our bounds, because there's a fine line.
Yeah. And like you said, you guys are all working towards the same goal as well. So it can be tough to walk that line, but I guess hopefully everyone keeps that in mind, that you guys are all fighting for the same cause.
Right. On any shoot.
Yeah.
But can I go back and say something about someone else?
Yeah.
Okay. So Michael Satrazimas, he was the DP or the operator and then the DP for many years. And now he is like the showrunner for Fear of the Walking Dead. And he always, do you know Michael Satrazimas?
It's like two guys who are the showrunner for that show.
Okay. Well, he's one of them.
He's important.
Yes. He's one of them. And he would do really fun things for the crew. Like one time he had a mariachi band come and they brought drinks, not alcoholic drinks, but drinks to the crew with pineapples in them and stuff. And he was one time he had fortune tellers come at lunch, and everybody one time he had masseuse, like 8 masseuse in different rooms, and they would give like 10-minute massages on your backs. And so that was his way of thanking us, Wow. And he's always been super generous, and he's just really has high energy, and he really, keeps things moving. So he was really fun to work with. I mean, I'm just focusing on Walking Dead, but there are other directors, but he just brought something playful, very playful. Yeah.
To keep that energy, like you said, that's awesome that he did that. And he was only the DP, right? Like you said.
Well, he was a DP, and then he started directing.
Okay.
And then he moved over to to directing in Fear of the Walking Dead and show running. So. Wow.
That's awesome that he gets that possibility, and that's allowed.
I mean, that's, earlier you asked me about teaching, and that's another thing I want to talk with people about, is if ultimately they want to direct, the different ways you can move into it. So.
Yeah, there's different paths for everyone, which is awesome, because it's very unlikely that you're just going to start as a director unless you're like producing your own stuff, I think.
Right.
But yeah, there's other paths. Like you said, there's an assistant editor that found his way to directing, and he was a DP, and he's show running now. So that's awesome. And one of my other questions is, do you believe that like Greg Nicotero, like we said before, he came back multiple times and directed multiple episodes, but but they weren't back to back. And did that cohesion with the cast and crew, did that was that maintained? Like was it like he was a fresh director each time with the cast and crew, or did those relationships stay with everyone, even though
they stayed? I mean, the reason they weren't back to back is because when you have an episode, then you have to go away and prep.
Yeah.
And so that's why. But no, it always was just like glue. It was always family. It was always really good. And
that's awesome.
Yeah. And he brought, when it's familiar, it's really nice. It's nice to have fresh directors too. But sometimes that got grueling, and it was nice to have somebody familiar. Yeah.
So, and one of the questions that I think you're going to see that, I'm like, do you believe that script supervising is a natural path to directing? Because in my mind it is, because you work so closely with the director and also the editor and like a lot of other roles. So what do you think?
Well, unfortunately in our industry, people don't see it that way, but yes, I know that for a fact I've become a really good director because I've gotten to work with so many directors, and I've seen, I've learned from them. And my position is such that it is continuity, but it's also continuity in movement and the scene and the script and understanding the story. And so, you know, yeah, I think it's the perfect job, but the industry unfortunately doesn't give us that many opportunities.
Yeah, so, like you said, like even teaching script supervising, that's not like everything else is kind of taught at schools. Like even at my school, like there's a class for everything else, but if I wanted to learn how to be a great one like you, I don't really know how to go by doing that. So
yeah,
it's tricky.
It's weird that it's one of the most important jobs on set, and yet it's not taught in film school. And that's very strange to me, but it's true. Randy Feldman is a wonderful teacher, and she teaches everybody. You can just Google her name, Randy Feldman, but she teaches on paper and pen to begin with. And I think she's doing classes on Zoom, and then, you go from there. But one thing that they, that a lot of people come to set, they don't know how to do. Part of my job is screen direction and the 180 rule. And it's funny to me, they don't teach script supervising because that's part of our expertise. And so, yeah, I mean, it's so important to, I'm supporting the DP, the director, the actors, the editor, and production with all of my notes about, how long the film is and how many pages we shot that day, and supplying information to the assistant directors. It's just like the holding the Bible, which is a script, and connecting everybody together. And so I wish they would teach it and have a class on it, because it's really important.
Yeah, definitely. And I'd really like to see what all the shows you've worked on would look like if your role wasn't there.
Right.
Like I would like to see how different it would be. That would be fun for me to see. Then people would actually see how important it actually is.
It's like screen direction. We have to remember that we may shoot a master today of a scene of you and I talking, and then we'll come back in 2 months and do our close-ups, and the DP will say, "I don't remember where they were sitting. I don't remember what is the girl's eye line, what is the guy's eye line, what's the screen direction for this scene," And my job is to have that for them, or visual effects, where were the people sitting in the scene? And if you don't have playback, luckily we do, but you don't have time to go watch it. You don't have time to go look it up. Like every minute is so much money. You just need to have the answer. And that's why, you ask me, what do you do in the mornings? I really like to line up my day so that I can give the answer right away, and no one's waiting on me, Yeah. And no one needs to look up the answer. I have it. So I hope. Not always, but I hope.
Yeah, I'm sure your directors hope you have it as well. And on directing, I'd love to talk about Happy Trails, because I saw it this morning, and I'm very happy that I did, because sometimes I interview people and it's just not possible to see their work because it might be in festivals at the time. But I'm very glad that I got to see it, because
thank you.
I was like, I didn't expect what it was like, because I've seen the poster for as long as I've known of you, Miss Lacy. I've seen the poster. That's what brought me to you. I saw the poster first. Wow. And I love posters, and I'm not the biggest fan of the poster. I hate to say it, but I really like the short film. So
thank you.
Yeah. So on your first directorial effort, you guided 4 Walking Dead alumni: Pollyanna McIntosh, Lenny James, Joshua Mickle, and Cooper Andrews. Did you always see them in those roles when you wrote the short?
Well, as I told you before this, Lenny was supposed to be my Ray Rogers, so a different script that I wrote. So yes, I always had Lenny in mind. And Pollyanna, I really, really wanted her to be River. So yes, I had her in mind. And actually, there were a couple other people that were going to be in it that couldn't due to COVID or other reasons. And Lenny almost couldn't come. He's number 1 on Fear of the Walking Dead.
Yeah.
and they didn't want to come to Atlanta. I know that, but I just told him, I said, this is the one chance that we'll have this crew together, because come January, everybody's going to be so busy, we won't be able to work together. And he said, that's all you had to say. I'm there. And that was amazing. So yeah, and Cooper, I definitely wanted him because I wanted him to be going, well, I shouldn't say because people haven't seen it, but I wanted him especially because it wasn't a character he normally plays. Yeah. And Josh, yeah, he had to be Emmanuel. He just, that was, yeah. When we worked together on Walking Dead, I looked at him and I said, I will work with you again. He is an amazing actor. He's, I think he hasn't been given his depth of, he's just such a great actor. So I hope he gets some great roles. Yeah,
I hope so too, because he always gives me the creeps, just his face, because I swear that I've heard him talk on the show, but I believe you. And when you say he didn't, but just his presence, like he gave like a creepy.
You're talking about Josh, who played Emmanuel. I was talking about Jimmy.
Okay.
Jimmy McPhee, he was one of the angels on the bridge at the end.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I missed him. And he was like an extra kind of.
Yeah. We were talking about two totally different people. Okay. Yeah. So Jimmy was a savior, and he was always an extra on the show. Okay. And he was there from the first day we were in the Savior compound.
Wow.
And Josh had a lot of lines. Yeah. He was a big time character.
Yeah, him and Lenny have a lot of back and forth. Yeah, okay, that's what I was thinking.
So I apologize. We had that.
No problem. No, yeah, but it's cool that you finally gave. I'm sorry. What's the angel on the bridge? Yeah, you gave him a line finally. That's awesome.
Yeah, well, he's a great actor.
Voice.
Yeah.
Awesome. And so when did you decide to start filming it? And because you had to get it off the ground so quickly. Like you said, January was the time when Lenny's the head. He's the lead of Fear. So that was very time sensitive. So.
Well, I was working on Loki when the pandemic hit. And all of my kids came home, and in July they called me to go back, and we were shooting at Pinewood Studios, and my kids just said, you can't go back. And I've never left a show, and especially something of that caliber. And I very, very much love Tom Hiddleston. I think it's just unbelievable to watch him work, and fun. And I love the show, but they asked me not to go back for my health. And so I told them I wouldn't go back. And that's when I realized right now is the time that I could actually shoot a short when nothing's shooting and be safe. So Denai called me. Actually, she played Michonne on The Walking Dead. And she called me, and she was telling the producers of The Walking Dead for a few years that they should let me direct. Excuse me. And so she called me up and just said, I think you need to make your short now. I'm going to rally the cast and crew. Let's send out an email and see if we can raise enough money to shoot a short. And so she was my executive producer and raised $23,000 in 8 hours. And then I took a lot of my savings and matched, because for COVID, it was $12,000 just for the COVID testing and security and safety for the crew and the cast and crew. So yeah, we did it though. We did it pretty quickly. I want to say it was 2 weeks. I want to say Denai called and raised the money, and we wrote the script, and within 2 weeks.
So was it unprompted on Denai's part? She just came, she knew you wanted to do this, and she just kind of said we're going to do this, or wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. I mean, I was scared to go back out because of COVID. I was in my I left Loki. It was a very scary time. I have 3 friends who passed away from COVID, and they were on set. I have a couple other director friends who got very, very sick and almost died. So I did not want to expose myself or anyone else to it. At the same time, I knew we'd all be working all the time, and this was the chance. So if we were super safe, we could do it. So that's how it all went.
And considering everything, I applaud you on like what you got done. Like,
Thank you.
And what was it? How many days did you guys shoot the whole project?
3 days. We shot for 3 days.
Wow.
And my very good friends and neighbors, Tammy and RJ, they gave me their house to use. So the chickens were ours. We have chickens, so the chickens were ours. And I love that they were in the scene with John talking on the phone. It was hilarious. But we used Tammy and RJ's house, their backyard, their bedroom, and then their daughter Haley let us use her apartment for River's house. And all the home movies are my home movies from my childhood. And I sent them to our editor, Stephen Nevius, who helped me choose which ones we'd use. Oh, and what's really cool, this is really, really cool. So as little kids, my dad always had us march around the house singing, "Here we go, to and fro, through the ice and through the snow." And so when he's walking on the bridge and the swinging bridge, the children's voices you'll hear are his great-grandchildren singing that same song. So it's like really cool. It's kind of creepy, but.
Whose great-grandchildren?
So the father, it's confusing, but basically River's father.
Yeah.
That's really actually my dad.
Yeah.
And he's walking on the bridge, and the kids' voices that are singing are his great-grandchildren. So he passed away like in 2000, 2001.
But that's your grandfather.
Which is actually.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. He passed away in 2001. But those home movies he's in, that's actually my dad. So his great-grandchildren are singing the song that he's walking on the bridge to. Does that make sense?
But
so like,
it's you. Are you the one singing the song?
No, like he made up the song when we were kids, and we would sing it as kids. And then I had my niece and nephew's children sing it.
Oh, okay. So they recorded it last year.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Sorry, it didn't make sense.
It was a song that he had you guys sing, but you had them record it. Okay, awesome. Okay, I get it. Thank you.
Sorry about that.
No problem. That's awesome though that you have that. Like no one would really know it aside from like you and your family, but that connection there.
Right.
So that's really special.
Right. It is. It really is. It really is. And I want to go back a second.
Yeah.
Denai really got the ball going, but Daisy Mayer is a director who she's done a lot of The Walking Dead. She also did *Halt and Catch Fire*, which I worked with her on. We've gone back many years, but she really, really fought for me to direct, and she really backed me up and gave me the strength and like the courage to do this. And she's a huge supporter. And her husband was our composer. So he does music. He's a music composer. And so he took pity on me and did my film and helped record the great-grandchildren singing that song. But he's very creative and has great ideas. But I feel like having more and more female directors, I haven't worked with that many. And so having that support has been really wonderful, especially from Daisy. She's a spectacular director. I'm sorry, my dog is going to bark for a second.
No problem. And I was also wondering, like, you had to write in such a short amount of time, so I'm assuming you had the locations all kind of mapped out in your head, like when you were writing it. No?
Well, actually, I did, but not for Georgia. Like I grew up in Tennessee, and I'm thinking like we had to change a lot of the location or the script because in my mind, some things would happen. We don't have the same terrain. It's like a Piedmont here. We just don't have the same terrain as in Tennessee, which is where my head was. So the locations, actually, I believe it was the first AD. I think it was the first AD or the DP, Deke. Someone knew about a location that was in the mountains that wasn't too far away that we could go to. It was actually out towards Sonoya where we shot Walking Dead. So
awesome.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just assumed like you seem like kind of an outdoors person, and maybe you might know this like place that around Georgia. But yeah, that's cool that you still have those connections from the show that they helped you out. And, and I was also wondering, and did Pollyanna shave her head for this project, or was it just a happy coincidence that she already did?
I was so happy. Okay, so I asked her to do it, and she said yes. And then like 4 days before she was flying in, she said, I have to tell you something. I've done something. And I was like, uh-oh, what did you do? And she said, Amy, I shaved my head. And I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. Because and so then I incorporated it. But I was so happy she did it because it was perfect, because the film is about COVID and people losing their minds. And a lot of times people shave their head but no, she'd already shaved her head.
Yeah, that's what I watched it the first time, and I thought, there's no way that she actually shaved her head. And then I rewatched the first part. And I'm like, no, it just, you guys filmed it in a way that you tricked me for a second. But
good.
Where did you guys get the hair at? Where did you guys get her hair at? Like
Vincent, he is actually Vincent got all the wigs, so they had to match her hair with the wigs. But he had like 2 wigs, and he just cut them up, and then she held the hair in her hand and dropped it. So Deke, the DP, was on Steadicam, and he just said, I'm coming up your legs, I'm coming up your hips, I'm coming up, so that she knew right when to drop the hair.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. You tricked me.
It was like a dance. They timed it out, and we did 6 takes of that.
Wow, 6 takes.
6 takes, but it was more, not because of her at all. It was the camera rig was kind of moving, and it would kind of bump, and so we restart. And the timing of the video, the home movie on the computer.
Oh yeah, it was a little dance, like you said. That was a tricky opening, but it was a great product that you guys got in the end, because
thank you.
Yeah, like the first half of the film is filmed with like a lot of really great tracking shots, and like, did you envision that while you wrote the film? Like,
definitely. Yeah, I did. Really? I made my own storyboards with stick people. But yeah, definitely. I had a clear vision of how I wanted it, and had a shot list, and I spent 2 nights with Deke going over all the shots and everything and planning it so that, we had to just go boom, 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 because there were so many people in it, and we did not have very much time. So we had to be extremely scheduled also. But what was funny is when we went to shoot that opening scene, I wasn't crazy about how the table was set up, but I was in script supervisor mode, which is funny because I wasn't, like I wasn't used to director mode. And so I didn't think I could touch all the props. And what I learned, it's funny, I think it was Alfred Hitchcock or someone said, I'm a much better director after I shoot the film than before. And it's so true. Because, I would have totally changed that table. I would have moved things around and not had the wine bottles as the first opening shot. But, it works. I'm very happy with it. I just didn't think that I could touch anything. Isn't that funny?
Oh, yeah. Like, you're just conditioned for so many years.
Yeah. And I'm embarrassed to say that, but it's true. You get stuck in the role you've been in, and it's very freeing when you learn and you can go, I hope I can go do it again and make it even better. And
And as this was your first like directorial written project, did you learn something like other than that you can touch the props now that surprised you from directing a short project? Like
like the first day of shooting, Lenny and Pollyanna and I sat in the kitchen while they were setting up and talked about the scene and about, adding things to the scene, to the dialogue. And I did learn a lot from Lenny, and I did learn a lot from Pollyanna about working with actors, because I see what's on set, but I don't see what's behind the scenes. I don't see the rehearsals. I mean, I've seen a few rehearsals, but in television, you don't get that luxury so much. So, and even in features, I'm not invited to a lot of the rehearsals. So we sat here in the kitchen and went over the day's scene and the mood and adding names and changing dialogue and marking things out. And I think on a big, when you have time, you can do all that before. But yeah, so that was the first time I got to do that. And I learned a lot about that. And then just the feeling of such a caliber of actors, and even not like even people who hadn't done very much that were depending on me to give them my selection, being in those shoes, it felt good, but it also was a little scary, because they're completely depending on you.
Yeah.
So it was a little scary, but it was also wonderful. Like I felt like, I don't know, I felt like I was in a zone that whole shoot. I felt like, I know this is going to sound probably crazy, but I meditate, I do TM, and it felt like I was in that like we were all consciousness, we were all flowing together. We were all working toward the same thing. So
yeah, did you ever find yourself like when they asked you questions, the actors, and you and you thought you should ask someone else, like you should ask like
no.
You never felt that way?
No.
Because like I directed I would call my first film, like short film, over COVID as well, and like I kind of felt that way because I always like film stuff on my own. I film stuff with my family, but this was my first time like with actual actors, and it's just a weird experience having these like people who are used to it. Like it was just such a weird experience for me.
No, I totally understand. I don't know what it was. I just was in the zone with them.
Yeah, that's great.
I can't explain it. It was just like, it was time. It was meant to be. It was perfect. But it was my project.
Yeah.
Right. So if it was someone else, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just happy the whole time. I was giddy, and it was just so weird.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
Yeah. And also,
I'd love to see your film.
Oh yeah, I'll send it to you. Like I'm working on the score right now with a team in Seattle.
Oh, wonderful!
Yeah, any day I'm gonna get the score back and I'm gonna mix it, and it's basically done after that. But yeah, I'll send it to you, and I'm happy to show it off to everyone. But looking back, is there anything you would like to change, but you can't because you sent it? So, like with that eye of all of those other positions that you've learned, like you said, like the opening scene, you kind of changed a little bit. Like, is there anything you would want to change if you
completely the whole script? There's too much talking, and like there's one part that I really don't like, and the drone shot. We were too rushed. I in the moment I should have trusted my intuition because I was being rushed. We had 2 camera units, which is really funny, but we had 2 camera units, and I was being rushed because I thought we were losing the light, or that we would lose the light later in the day. But that shot was the most important shot, and so I should have taken a lot more time with that shot. It ended up working out okay. It's not the one I wanted. It's not the angle I wanted, but that's nothing about the drone operator. He did an amazing job. It was just about the timing of people moving with the camera. That was a hard shot to get too, we only did 4 takes of that, and we could have done more. We just were pushed for time. So I think too, it's too wordy, and I would have shown more action, but all in all, I am happy with it. And I think it does give a great message. Some people don't get it, and some people do, and that's okay. That's what art is, right? So
yeah, and that drone shot especially, I was not expecting like that. Like drone shots, like nowadays they seem really overused, and like you kind of have them in everything. But for this, I really like that as the ending.
Thank you.
Like just the whole production value of it. It was really great, and
thank you.
I was not.
The crew was amazing.
Like especially during COVID, I thought it would just be two people sitting on a bench, like talking about their day. Like I didn't expect there was going to be like a whole cast and crew, and like I really applaud you for like all the resources that you had, and the time and COVID and everything, what you got accomplished in 3 days.
Thank you. Well, it's funny because I did all the scenes with masks and without. And in the end, the editor and I talked about it, Stephen Nevius, who's amazing, by the way. We talked about it, and I just said, let's let all of the people that, I'm going to give something away, so I better not. Anyway, we chose who wore a mask and who didn't. And that was, So, and the other thing is when River falls, she drops her keys and falls. I changed the lighting there. So I don't know if you noticed, but I had specific, I changed the lighting. So I wanted to do something like you said, you saw the tracking shots. Yeah. We also did change lighting so it would show like a different energy. So
awesome. Yeah, I'm so happy that I got to see it because I really didn't think I would be able to. And like I have the link scrolling below if anyone wants to watch it.
Oh yeah.
I highly encourage you to, like, just for shorts, just Happy Trails, Amy Lacy. It should pop up for you, like if you're looking for it. And it's like 20 minutes, short 20. So yeah, awesome. I'm happy that I saw it this morning.
Thank you for watching it. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for creating it. After creating Happy Trails, are you excited like jump back into that mode as director?
Yes. I'm hoping. We entered a bunch of festivals. I mean, I'm honestly entering a lot of festivals and handing out my short, hoping that someone will say, hey, I know you can direct. Let me give you a chance. So I feel like with as much script supervising experience that I have, and if anyone sees the film, they'll see, I think that I know what I'm doing, and I know how to shoot and how to talk with actors, and I hope I get a chance.
If that does happen, Mrs. Lacy, like, would you just say goodbye to script supervising? Like,
yes.
And like you evolve from that in a way?
Well, I would. I mean, I think I would have to keep script supervising until I had a lot of directing jobs. I love what I do, though, so I don't know. I think I'd rather direct. I really enjoy that. I feel like stepping into my next thing.
A new challenge.
Yeah. It feels very natural, and it feels I don't know. It feels like second nature in a way.
Awesome.
So.
And you've already kind of told us that you're working on getting like your teaching degree in a way. But what are you working on next, like creatively? Are you writing something new? Because it seems like you told us before, like you started exploring that, and like I'm assuming that you're writing on your own a lot. So what are you working on now, and like what are we going to see next for you, Mrs. Lacy?
So I'm starting Father of the Bride. It's the Latino version. As the script supervisor, I start tomorrow in my prep, and then I'm writing a story. It's a story about a young mother and her 3 kids, and it's part of their life journey where they get abandoned in a home without electricity or anything, and her bouncing back and getting back on her feet. So it's like that kind of thing. And then I hope that, I work on Father of the Bride until August. After that, I hope, by then somebody will offer me a directing job.
Fingers crossed.
And I'll keep writing, I'll keep writing stories. So
I'm sure your writing can only get better, Mrs. Lacy.
Well, that's true.
Well, not that was bad, but
no,
But yeah.
But it is true. You know, a subject matter that I've been very interested in. I would really like to do more research in is our prison systems, which I know sounds a little bit different than what we've been talking about, but I really feel like there needs to be more of a voice for young kids, and I want to say children under the age of 18 who are put in prison for life, and some in solitary confinement. I don't know. I want to make a difference, and I want to help people. And I feel like through films we can help, right? So many people. I think just one voice bringing this to people's attention could make a difference. Maybe someone out there could see it that they could help them. So that's one place I'm thinking of. I haven't done the research yet, but I'd really like to do something like that.
Yeah. Do you like the research process of like script writing?
I do actually.
I love that. That's one of my favorite parts.
Yeah. My bedroom upstairs is the whole wall. Do you use index cards?
I used to on my first script.
Yeah.
And that took way too long. But I found it like that's what happens for me, at least. Like I like your first few scripts, you find just better methods for you. And I think I've found my method now.
Oh, good.
It's much more efficient. So, but you have a lot of like cards, like index cards. That's how you work.
Awesome. And like big rolls of paper. And so I'll like put a huge roll of paper on my wall because it's like kind of like making a mural of your script. And so it's like a big timeline. And then I'll have like ideas, and then I take my index cards and I throw them in there too. And so it's like a big mural of what is going to be. And then I retake the index cards and put them in the order, and it's sort of like the outline, you know? Yeah. But yeah, I really do enjoy it. I don't think I would enjoy doing the prison one because it breaks my heart. And it breaks my heart bad. And I don't know how we can incarcerate such young kids for life and in solitary imprisonment. I can't get my head around it. But I feel like it's needed, you know?
Well, yeah, that perspective as well, since you're really affected by it, if you could pull that out, that means a lot. So
yeah,
if you feel comfortable, like that's a perspective that's needed, like you're saying. So I would encourage you to kind of follow that if you feel that way. That's awesome. I look forward to it. It sounds, I haven't seen anything like narratively. I'm sure there's documentaries along that line, but if there's a narrative you can go down, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. My final question for you, Mrs. Lacy, thank you so much for joining us. I've learned a lot just talking to you tonight, but what advice would you give to anyone who is currently an aspiring film director like yourself? How could they improve their craft, and how can they try to get their first gig, and like how you created your own opportunity in a way?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And I have 1,000 answers to that, to be honest. I really do, because a lot of people get their first, as I understand, get their first time directing like right out of college when they've done like a short that they submitted and won a film festival, or a lot of female directors anyway that I've worked with won festivals. And that's why I put my film in so many festivals. So I think festivals is one way, or some people have, they've gotten their script written and so they got, their first film. But I think it's important, if you want to work on a set, if you don't have a directing job and you want to, one route you can take is the camera department. One route you can take is assistant directing. If you just get on a set and work as a PA, PAs are usually the executive producers of, a year or two later, they're the ones who are hiring all of us. Any way you can get yourself a job on set. You don't have to pigeonhole yourself in that place, but get on set. Don't get stuck in, I have to be a director. I would say get yourself on set and start doing short films with the people you're working with, in the industry, and networking. If you have a film that you've shot, show the people you're working with, have it. One guy, I was working on Lodge 49, which is a great show.
Very interesting.
And love that show. I'm bummed it canceled. And one of the camera assistants, he rented a space in a movie theater and showed all of us his short, which was amazing. So, you know, have parties, share your film with other people. But I know that's not a really great answer, but it's really, I think once you get in the community and start working in whatever capacity you can do and start networking, you'll move your way up. But what I've seen are from show running, from camera, and from assistant directing, mainly. I think script supervising is a great way to learn how to be a wonderful director, but unfortunately, it's not a norm. I think I know of like 3 women who have come from, and I say women, men are also script supervisors, but just that I know that are directing now.
Yeah, that's great, because hopefully you can kind of help break that
mold
mold even more, because like you've been describing, script supervisor seems like a really great way. Like, it seems like in a way like junior directing, in a way like you're everywhere. You're working with so many people.
You know, and I want to say something about, you know, when I did my short, I don't know if you noticed the Lenny's shirt that had all the names of. Yeah.
I saw that.
So that shirt was really important to me, but I didn't ask him to wear it. The costumer basically held up 2 shirts and said, you know, which one would you like to wear? Amy likes this one, but what one do you really want to wear? It's okay if you don't. And he was like, I want that one. And that shirt, I was talking to the costumer, and he told me, he said, you've told me that John is an alcoholic. You've told me that, you know, he's losing his practice as a therapist. And I said, yeah, and he oversleeps. And he said, well, why don't we just have him wake up in this shirt and wear it the next day as well, you know, so that he just wears the same thing to go hike. That little tidbit of information really helped me as a director. And that came from costumes. So even, you know, working in costumes, you can see a big, you know, a wider spectrum than just change day 1, change day 2. You know, there's a reason why they have on a certain color. There's a reason why people wear certain clothes, and working with the DP and stuff. And I'm sorry if I went off subject a little bit, but every department affects the director. And if you're open to receiving their insight, your film will be so much better. You know, it's a huge collaboration, and everybody that's in the positions they're in know their little things so well, right? So like the costumer knew, oh, he should just go hiking in that same shirt because we'll know that he overslept, and, you know, or the prop person who says, you know, a therapist would never carry a keychain that looked like this or whatever, but just being open to collaborating and other people giving their expertise. You don't have to take it, but be open to it. Yeah, but like Greg came from special effects, makeup, and he's a great director. It's like, I don't think you have to be pigeonholed. Do the things, like when you ask about directing, if you just do the things, get into something that you love and feels natural. And I don't know, it feels like when you do your job well, someone's going to notice, right?
Yeah, eventually, hopefully.
Yeah.
So, yeah, thank you so much. And yeah, there's a reason behind everything, like you're saying, like with that shirt. Like I guess now I pick up on the detail, but knowing now, like that adds so much more to the story that you're trying to create. And that's really awesome that you could pull that detail in from just talking to the costume person. So so
I'm so really grateful to them for, you know, helping me with that. Like, oh, that makes a big difference. So
yeah. So thank you so much, Mrs. Lacy, for joining us today. And I look forward to whatever you're working on in the future. And it sounds all very exciting. And yeah, everyone's looking forward to it. And you can find Happy Trails on that link that's scrolling below. So have a great night, Mrs. Lacy.
Thank you so much.
And